Okay, let's look at homework 3. There are 30 questions in this one, so I will do 6 questions in a set or in a video. So let's look at question 1. Which statement illustrates the law of demand? What is law of demand? It is really just the downward sloping demand curve. Okay, that's law of demand. Then an increase in the tuition, right? Higher price encourage more students to enroll in college because of quality of the education has risen. Higher price, more students. Not really law of demand. There's something gotta give, right? Higher price, something got to decrease. Consumers buy more personal computers because prices have fallen. Is that a negative relationship? Is that something downward sloping relationship? Right? Yep, maybe. Okay. C. Oil companies drill for new resources because prices are higher. Why do they want more crude oil? Right? Are they the buyer or seller of crude oil? But when you think about demand, is it about buyers or sellers? D. Fewer people play golf because incomes are lower. They make less money, they play less golf games. But is that a price and quantity relationship? This negative relationship, okay, saying what? Saying lower price, higher quantity demanded, or say, let me use another color, right? Higher price, lower quantity demanded. Okay, lower quantity demanded. It's a price and quantity demanded relationship. This choice is about choice D. It's about what? Income and the need for golf games. So they are different. Okay, let's look at question 2. A decrease in the price of eggs will result in an increase in what? Demand for eggs, supply for eggs, supply of eggs, quantity of eggs supplied, quantity of eggs demanded. Which one? Okay. Now, look at this one. This is the graph. To think about a decrease in the price of eggs. So, the price of eggs will decline like this, right? And then I move this one lower, but you want to stay on the demand curve, so something gotta change. That is the quantity demanded. Okay, this is the quantity demanded. So what's going on? We have lower price and a higher quantity demanded, right? And that's on the demand curve. It's a movement along the demand curve. So now you know, right? How do you choose? This is a movement along the demand curve. Let's look at question 3. The demand curve for monthly subscription to HBO has shifted to the right. Okay, this now it's a demand curve shift. The whole line, the whole curve, okay, the whole curve moved from this place to another position, shift to the right. What would have caused it? Now this is about not only the movement of demand curve, also about the causality, right? What's the reason? Now let's look at this one. If you have a different demand curve, shift the whole thing, shift to the right. It goes like from this place to the right, and I can make it d prime, meaning it's the low at the new location, and I will make it this is the old location, right? So what can happen is, for a given price, the quantity demanded goes up. But anyway, if you think about the reason, what cannot be the reason is the price movement. Okay, you cannot say it's because the price moved along the demand curve, right? Quantity demanded changed and the whole curve changed. That's not gonna be the reason. So let's look at the choices. A fall in the price of HBO subscriptions, not a reason. It's a movement along the demand curve. B, an increase in the price of HBO subscriptions. Again, same thing, along the demand curve. C, an increase in the supply of HBO subscriptions. It is a supply change. It's not a demand change. So we have no other choice now. Okay, nothing else. And here is an increase in the incomes of buyers. And if you have studied the whole chapter, you know it means HBO subscription is a normal good. Okay, if you make more money, or say in general, the potential viewers, their income goes up, and the ones who do not have enough money to subscribe to HBO now can afford it. So more people sign on the service. Okay. Question 4. In much of the country, homeowners choose to heat their houses with either natural gas or heating oil, both of which are normal goods. Which factor would cause an increase in the demand for natural gas? Now, this question is about substitutes. Okay, I have to say the author probably don't really understand the supply of heat. Maybe in some places, right, the infrastructure to deliver the natural gas is there. Then you have a choice between these two, and natural gas has been really cheap for years, and heating oil, you have to stock it before the start of winter, so it's a lot of trouble. So I think over time people has, when it is possible for them to switch, they already switch to natural gas. But let's assume this is economics, it's theory, it's not practice, it is not reality. All right, this is just a question to think about substitutes. So let's focus on what does the question really mean. All right, I know the reality, but let's just think about this question. Okay, what factor would cause an increase in the demand? Okay, this is a demand for natural gas. So let's think about that. We need a demand increase. Okay, so we have a new curve to move to the right. That's demand increase. And we still can say this is the new demand curve. Then it has to be what? It has to be some kind of price change on the heating oil side, right? Either heating oil become more expensive, or heating oil become less expensive, right? And we have to base our reasoning on the relationship between these two substitutes. Okay, let's think about it. When the demand for natural gas will become higher, this is a whole movement. Okay, it doesn't matter higher price, lower price. At each price, all right, let me still mark it. At each price, the quantity demanded is higher. All right, each price, quantity demanded is higher. So this is a movement of the demand curve. It means the substitute heating oil, right, become less attractive. It has to be what you don't really want a lot of heating oil. You want natural gas, and then the quantity demanded on heating oil is lower, so it has to be a higher price for the heating oil. Okay. In other words, for substitutes, the relationship is between the price and the quantity demanded of one good to the whole demand curve of another. Okay, so when heating oil price goes up, people can afford less to buy heating oil. They cannot buy as much heating oil as before. Then they go to natural gas. It moves the whole demand curve. Okay, the whole demand curve. Move the whole demand curve to the right. Okay, so right now, increase in the price of natural gas. Now, a decrease in the price of natural gas. This doesn't move the demand curve. Okay, doesn't move the demand curve. A decrease in the price of heating oil. How about this one? This is interesting. If it's a decrease in the price of heating oil, right, the substitute is cheaper. You don't need to buy natural gas. The heating oil is a cheaper way to heat your home in the winter. So what's gonna happen? The demand curve actually goes to the left. Okay, it will be a decrease in the demand. So none of this A, B, and C is our perceived correct answer. Then which one is the correct answer? It has to be this guy. And now we are talking about what? It's utilizing the normal good concept, right? Higher income, higher demand. Whole demand curve shift to the right. Now let's look at question 5. A shift of the demand curve for a thin crust pizza would not be caused by a change in. This again is about the factors, okay, which can move the demand curve. Okay. A, buyer's income, that we have talked about, right? It's kind of the normal good, inferior good story. Again, no price change on a good's own demand curve will shift it. It's move within the coordinates, right? The price and the quantity. So the price of thin crust pizza itself won't change the demand curve. The curve is still there. C, the price of thick crust pizza. This one is a substitute, right? So complement, substitute, and income, those are factors that can shift the demand curve. D, the popularity of thin crust pizza. Popularity is basically people's preference, right? Whether people like this product or not, and that can shift the demand curve. So there's a page in the textbook show you all different kinds of factors that can shift the demand curve. You should check it out, and basically you need to memorize it. It's not very difficult to understand these ideas. You just need to put them into your memory. Okay. Question 6. Raclette is a popular wintertime dish in Switzerland. Okay, it's a dish. It is essentially melted raclette cheese over boiled new potatoes. So just cheese on potatoes. If the price of raclette cheese decreased, we would expect to see what? Alright, now this is a standard question about what? Complements. Okay, it's about complements, right? This kind of cheese and the potatoes are eaten together or served together, made into one dish. So let's look at our idea. Question 6. This cheese, what's the word here? Oh, if the price of raclette cheese decreased, okay, so price decrease, right? Price decrease, then what can happen? Quantity demanded increase. That's what the law of demand tells us, or say that what the demand curve tells us. You want, the ingredients become cheaper, and you want to make that dish. You still need potatoes, so the whole demand curve, right, shift to the right. Looks like that, and let me shift it for you. Goes to the right, and we can put these arrows here. Another one, more robust, that's a shift of the demand curve. Okay, and still I mark the new demand curve as D prime, and we can even change this one a little bit, saying it's dashed, the old one, right? So that's what's gonna happen to the new potatoes. We can say, the demand curve of new potatoes goes to the right, or say an increase in the demand of new potatoes, or say at every different price level, right, we see a higher quantity demanded for new potatoes. So let's look at what we have. An increase in the demand for raclette cheese. That is not the case, because a price movement is along the demand curve, not a change in the demand. An increase in the demand for new potatoes. That's one of the things we have said. C, no effect on the demand for either of the raclette ingredients, since it's a traditional dish and it does not depend on the prices of ingredients. Look at this one. This is a long answer, and it is C, but it is not the right one. Okay, you have to solve the question. There's a question to solve. You have to complete the solving process to get an answer first. This is a good trick to write a question. Write a really long sentence, put it in C, and that sentence doesn't really make much sense in the context. Very good. D, an increase in demand for both raclette cheese and new potatoes. What's wrong with that? The increase in the raclette cheese is about quantity demanded. It's about quantity demanded. It's not about increase in demand, not the shift of the demand curve. Okay, that is question 1 to 6 for homework 3.